Hey there, super friends. It's Joey with Last Point Gaming. Today is Tuesday, August 4th, 2020. How y'all doing? So, I did record 2 episodes last week, and I trashed them both because, I really wasn't playing. Really wasn't hanging out in any streams very much. There just really wasn't anything to talk about. Been trying to stay away from community drama and community concerns. So yeah, there just really wasn't anything to talk about. But then yesterday, WotC decided to give everybody something to talk about. Now, before I go any further into this, if you want to listen to, an informed opinion from people who are actually good at this game, last night they did I won't call it an emergency, but an off-schedule live stream of the Pioneer Cast with Ross Merriam and Tannen Grace, and they had Todd Anderson on as guest again. And talked about these changes and everything. I don't know if the VOD is up on Ross's channel on Twitch. But if it's not, or even if it is, the cleaned up version from their awesome editor, I'll say the guy's name is Brent, one of the two, should be coming out later this week. So, again, if you want to hear people who actually know what the hell they're talk about all this, there you go. So we had bans yesterday in Standard, Historic, Pioneer, and Brawl. Now, of course, only one of those formats do I really care much of anything about. Why are you trying to kill me? Please stop that. And that's Pioneer. As far as Standard, I know Wilderness Reclamation got banned in both Standard and Historic. I think Baby Teferi got banned in Brawl. Maybe Standard. Maybe Historic. Not in Pioneer. That's okay. You know what? It's fine. I can accept that. Cauldron Familiar got banned in Standard. Todd Anderson on the Pioneer Cast episode posed the theory that card wasn't banned because it was busted. That card was banned because it creates an unfun play experience on the digital clients because of the sheer amount of clicking, especially Arena. Because there's no way just be like, yeah, fine, I yield through all their cat bullshit. Nope. Cat Oven, really fun combo. Really backbreaking and limited. Oh my god. Yeah, I played me some Cat Oven decks. I don't think it was an inherently busted combo, especially, well, that was from, Eldraine? Must have been from Eldraine. And then we, immediately went to Theros. My favorite is when they try to return the cat and you exile it with Timuret. That's my favorite. Same thing with Euro. They're like, oh, I'm gonna bring back Euro. I'm like, no, I'm gonna eat Euro. Nom nom nom. Seriously, Timuret, one hell of a Magic card. Not really. It's pretty bad, but, it was pretty nice in a lot of games. Especially because, you know, at first it looks so bad. It's just an innocuous little thing, a little enchantment creature sitting there. It's like, alright, yeah, this bucket's really big. Not if there's no other creatures. It's fine. Yeah, we'll just let them hang out. And then I start, you know, eating key cards out of their graveyard, and they're like, motherfucker. I'm like, yeah. Anyway. So, of course, you know, the format I care the most about is Pioneer. Combo is banned in Pioneer. That is... Hello, officer. That is the crux of the ban situation. Ban Hammer hit Inverter of Truth, Kethis, the Hidden Hand, Underworld Breach, Walking Ballista. I want to say there was a fifth card. Alright, I don't remember. Because really, it's only those, well, 3 of the 4 that I care about. I didn't play against the Kethis combo because, you know, I haven't played Constructed Magic in months. You know, outside of my crappy little monocolored decks in Best of 1 to grind out my daily quests in Arena so I can have more gold so I can draft more. So, yeah, I don't know what's up with this Kethis stuff. I did see somebody tweet that they were playing the Kethis deck. I guess Emma Handy pioneered that one. Though hers may have been a standard version of the deck or historic. I'm not entirely sure. And they tweeted, I of course saw it because they tagged her, but they tweeted that they still don't really know how it wins just because once they start doing things, their opponent just concedes. Such is how it goes against combo decks. Though, from what I hear, both from listening to the episode last night and actually hung out. Todd was streaming their conversation too. So, I actually hung out in Todd's stream. Oh, yeah. Both from the episode and other friends of mine that have been more aware of this stuff. I guess the problem with the Kethis deck is it's kind of like Lotus Breach in... Or even KCI, I guess, was like this. Again, KCI I didn't have a lot of exposure to, so I didn't really understand how the deck worked. But you can go through a lot of iterations and dirtle, and you still don't have a win con on board. So that's my only problem with the Lotus Breach deck. I think the Lotus Breach deck is fine. I don't think it's an overly powerful combo deck, because, you know, like I talked about before, it's kind of like Storm in Modern. So much of the deck is set. So even though it's a blue-based combo deck like Storm, there's not a lot of counter magic. So, which is usually the problem with blue-based combo decks, is you have this combo finish and then everything you need to protect it. Whereas Lotus Breach, and yeah, there were definitely times where I was on top of the game with Lotus Breach and like lost out of nowhere. Same thing happens to me with Titan Shift. I don't think it was a terrible deck. Like I don't think it was a really oppressive deck. There is some percentage of the time that Lotus Breach just kind of can't assemble fast enough. Like, I don't think it really... I think I said before that it loses to itself. I don't think that's really the case. It will lose to any reasonable speed deck a certain percentage of the time because it just, you know, the variance hits it bad and it just can't get what it needs to get. Now, there are cards to help with that, like, you know, Friend's Fae of Wishes and, you know, important cards in the sideboard, so you can just go get them with Fae. But Like, if you can't find the Thespian stage, or if you can't find the 2 lands to play to get your Lotus Field down, I mean, the fact that that deck's not even doing really much of anything important to the game until turn 3 is, a pretty big hindrance for it. So there are a lot of trade-offs with that deck, and it's like a whole inclusive combo deck. It's not, well, it's this deck, and it just happens to have these combo pieces in it. Like Saheeli Cat and Dimir Inverter. Oh, well, it's a control deck, and it happens to have this, game-winning combo in it. So, I don't think Lotus Breach was that oppressive a deck. The only issue I really had with it is, unless you're going to concede because they start going off and just assume they're going to get there, you can sit there for a very long time watching them go through their motions until you see anything that resembles a win con. I know, like, the first time I made somebody play it out, because I was like, you know what, no, I keep conceding to this deck because I don't want to be that asshole making the combo player keep going through all their clicks. But, you know what, no, I am that asshole because I've never seen a win con. And I've had one Lotus Breach player get a little snarky in the chat with me, with the, you can concede at any time, you've lost, yada yada. And I'm like, I don't see how you win. Like, yes, you're going through your entire deck. Cool. I mean, presumably, you have a win con, but I don't know. I kind of, flash back to the Teferi Nexus deck from Arena that didn't actually have a win con. It just got to the point where it infinitely looped Nexus. Well, that's not a win. In fact, you really wouldn't be able to get away with that in Tournament Magic. Yeah, once you're to the point where your deck is 4 Nexus of Fate, and that's it. Or 2 Nexus of Fate, however many Nexus of Fate, it doesn't really matter. Or Nexus of Fate and Teferi Hero of Dominaria, where all you're doing every turn is talking the same cards and drawing the same cards, and that's it. And that's all you do. You've locked your opponent out of the ability to take a turn, but you're not actually progressing towards winning. Your opponent's not drawing cards, so you can't even mill them out. Like, you can't win. This is not something you would get away with in paper Magic. But the digital clients, they, especially Arena, because as long as you're taking game actions, like recasting your Nexus of Fate and putting it into your library and drawing another Nexus of Fate, you don't time out. So, yeah, I've made people play out the Lotus Breach combo until I see the win con. If I see the expansion explosion, and they have a ton of mana, once they get the Jace, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see how you win now, but, I guess there's different win cons in that deck. I think those are the only 2 I've ever seen. But, I mean, as I've stated before, I personally don't feel that anybody has ever owed a concession. You do not owe a combo player a concession because they don't feel like playing out their combo. Now, on the converse side of that, if you're going to make somebody play out their combo, don't be a snarky little shit about them taking too long to play out their combo. When I played Storm, because I'm not as fast as Storm, I have to go through and update my Storm count and my mana count and everything. So it takes me a little time, but there have been times where, like, I have the win on board. You can see it. My Storm count's already 10. I've got a ton of mana in the pool, and I just cast Pass and Flame, so I get to do it all again. I got you can see the Grape Shot in the graveyard. And my opponent does not appear to have any interaction. And I'm just continuing to go through, building my Storm count and whatever. okay, fine. And, again, I don't feel that they owe me a concession, but it's when, I keep going through the iterations and keep building it up and explaining what I'm doing, and they're sitting there being all huffy and, oh, I guess I don't get to play it. Well, I mean, like, I don't want to be a jerk and explain to you how, and point out that you've lost, because it's all right there, and, like, I know you're a good enough player and you played against this deck enough that you know you've lost. So you want me to play it out, and that's fine, but then you don't, like, it's really kind of bad form that you're going to sit there and act like I'm some kind of horrible person because you're deciding that we're going to play it out. Anyway, that's all neither here nor there. So yeah, I don't think Lotus Breach, as far as, being an oppressive, impossible to interact with combo deck, was really such. Like, there are plenty of hate pieces that stalled that deck, and really, with Lotus Breach, again, because it's not really doing anything impactful until turn 3, and even there, that's just playing a land. It doesn't start really moving and shaking until turn 3 plus. So, if you can stall it for 1 or 2 turns, chances are you have the game won. Like, you don't need to completely shut it down. You don't need to, pop the Tormund script. You don't necessarily need Rest in Peace so that these cards are gone for good. A Grafdigger's Cage, played on the turn that after they play the Lotus Field. You don't want to put it out turn 1 because they don't really do a whole lot in that time, and then you leave it vulnerable before it has any impact. But, you figure by turn 3, you throw down the Grafdigger's Cage. Well, now they either continue through setup and have to take time off later to, get rid of it, or have to take the turn to get rid of it. But either way, you're buying yourself 1, 2, maybe even 3 turns, and they can't really win through that. So, I mean, it's not a bad combo deck. I think it's a fine combo deck. But it is very slow and doesn't have the counter magic to facilitate being slow like that. As far as Heliod Ballista, as mentioned before, I didn't think that deck was too oppressive either. I think there were plenty of ways to interact with the combo, plenty of access to, stall it out. But I think, I'm not sure Walking Ballista died just for that combo deck. I think the resurgence of mono green Devotion may have had an impact on that decision. Like, they may have been on the fence about it. Oh, I'm gonna pause y'all real quick. Oh man, what was I talking about? I was talking about Ballista. So, I think if they were on the fence about whether or not the Ballista combo needed to go, it might have been a deciding factor that they just unbanned Oath of Nissa, and you're seeing a resurgence in the mono green Devotion decks. Mostly the Aspiring Spike flavor that doesn't sideboard. I just love that idea. Your entire sideboard is 15 wish cards for Vivian and Karn the Great Creator. Sorry. So it may not have been only for Heliod Ballista, but it does seem like they decided that combo was just not a thing that was happening in Pioneer anymore. Now, and of course, Inverter of Truth went, and y'all know how I feel about Dimir Inverter. Was this ban reasonable or aggressive? I think it was a bit aggressive. Pioneer event attendance has been near non-existent. Because, the format got incredibly stale. Alright, I'm gonna pause y'all again real quick. Alright, we back. So, yeah, Pioneer attendance was in a real bad way. The format was, you know, in a coma, showing no signs of waking unless something changed. I can't believe it took them this goddamn long. But I guess I can kind of understand. So Theros Beyond Death is what really just kind of pissed all over that format. Oh, man. It's really raining. And here we are 2 sets later. But I can understand the hope that maybe something in Ikoria or M21, I mean more so Ikoria, I would assume. Just because core sets are rarely very impactful. Why is this light taking so long? Oh my god, focus. Yeah, I think they were hoping maybe something would come along and be able to answer that deck and unseat it. But, again, that was the problem with that deck. Is, you know, as far as every fucking smartass that wants to say, oh, you're complaining that Dimir Inverter isn't interactive? I interact with you plenty. Yeah, fuck off. You know that's not what anybody means there. What they mean is there's such a limited path for being able to interact with that deck. It's pretty much countering. Like, that is the only thing. So I will say the mirror matches between that Dimir Inverter decks were actually really interesting to watch. Yeah, managing your graveyard while managing your opponent's graveyard, and you don't want to make their graveyard too big because that makes their digs better, but you don't want their graveyard to get too low that they cast the inverter, and they, like, it was fascinating to watch, especially when you had awesome, you know, commentary members discussing it while it was happening. But that was, like, the only interesting magic you watched when watching a Dimir Inverter match. Dimir Inverter against anything else was boring as shit to watch. It's like, oh, here's their hate piece. Oh, nope, countered. Oh, well, here's this card. Oh, they killed it. Oh, now they're gonna Thoughtseize their opponent. You know, it... Stop, he's already dead. Like, it wasn't interesting to watch, it wasn't interesting to play. Yeah. Dimir mirrors were it, as far as interesting and complex gameplay involving that deck. So, I just don't know what the hell they were hoping from any set would fix that. I don't know, maybe it's just they weren't paying attention to Pioneer. Shit's been kind of a mess for WotC. I know everybody believes that they've been working on migrating towards a digital-only platform and, you know, screw paper players, but I mean, WotC still makes a good bit of money off of paper cards, and, like, something that's important to understand is all these sets that are coming out now, I mean, they've been planned for since before anybody knew that, you know, a pandemic was going to happen. So, they've got all this paper product that they were already committed to printing and shipping. And people aren't buying as much. You know, all in all, there's a lot at risk for them too. You know, they've been trying to roll with what's going on in the global space just as much as players have been. So, could be that Pioneer just wasn't a focus for them. And like, you know, they put out as much of the other fires as they can, and looking around and goes, oh yeah, this sick kid over here, we gotta help. I don't know. I can understand them giving the format a little time to see if it could figure out a way. Because you figure quarantine measures started in March, right? So Theros came out when? Isn't that the Theros Ikoria? We just had M21, so Ikoria must have been the spring set. So I guess Theros was the last pre-release I attended. Theros must have been the fall set of last year. But Theros was the last set released when, you know, we were still doing pre-releases and stuff. Now I have heard stores, other places in the country have, you know, done paper pre-releases and shit. Ain't worth it, man. It's just not. I mean, that's kind of the problem the U.S. is having with COVID, is every time we start seeing the curve go in the other direction, we're like, okay, alright, we're doing good. Then, apparently, everybody decides, oh, okay, so we can stop all this now? Well, no. We need to continue taking measures to prevent the spread. Otherwise, our numbers are gonna, I don't know, skyrocket again, like they did. And they were like, yeah, let's open the beaches and the bars and shit. Like, don't get me wrong. I could really use a night out drinking. You know, I don't drink at home. Yeah, aside from maybe a malt beverage of some sort here and there. You know, one, my kids don't need to see me drunk. And two, I feel like me opening that box of, yeah, just gonna get loaded at home, doesn't end well. Because I think then it becomes a habit. Whereas now, where I only drink to any kind of excess away from the house, and it's usually at a bar where it's expensive to do so. They're pretty few and far between. Yeah, I stand a genetic risk of alcoholism. I descend from Irish Catholics, so. But, in any case, that's all neither here nor there. Yeah, I mean, I miss shit too. I don't love wearing a mask. I don't. You know, I'm not gonna bullshit with, I don't even notice. No, I totally do. The thing is, I've been smoking a pack a day for 20 years. I am quite overweight. And I'm not, like, glorifying this and being like, oh yeah, be like me. No, probably not. I am starting to pay the price for my unhealthy living in my younger years, which is just compounding all the other problems. But anyway, so no, I'm not saying do that. But I'm saying this is the thing I have done. My lung capacity is pretty shot. And, yeah. I am not any more beat up from wearing a mask than I would be without it. They are uncomfortable, though. They get very warm, and, especially now that it's summer. I can't imagine wanting to wear one outside. In fact, if I am going to be outside much, I'll opt for the more, like, the disposable ones, instead of the thicker cloth ones I usually wear, just because, the heat gets bad. But in any case, just wear your fucking mask, okay? Just do the thing. Because, we started to finally see lockdown measures and social distancing and everything take effect and slow the spread. And everybody's like, oh, okay, it's over. And it's like, no, not really. Also, if you buy into the conspiracy theory that the entire world somehow actually collaborated and, coordinated for this grand conspiracy just to make Trump look bad, like, I don't know what to tell you. That's mind-blowing. Oh, like, this is gonna disappear right after the election? What? 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 Are you kidding? Anyway. So yeah. Theros was the last paper pre-release I think I attended. Right? It was Theros, then Ikoria, and then M21, right? God, Eldraine seems like it was 10 years ago. 2020's been a hell of a decade. Anyway, so, I can see giving the format a little time to adjust, and then, it's likely what happened there was COVID happened, and, let's be honest, WotC's digital offerings are, well, they got some bugs. So, the focus was probably on fixing those kinds of things, and figuring out how to coordinate their premiere events online, and, there were so many things ahead in line, then, oh yeah, we should probably fix Pioneer. I'm thinking that's what happened. I can't imagine in pre-COVID times it going this long before they did something about Inverter. But, I don't know. Maybe it would have. Well, no, I can't remember the last time a truly oppressive, near impossible to interact with deck was allowed to live that long. I don't know how long Splinter Twin lived in Modern. Maybe that lived longer than I was thinking, because by the time I started playing Modern, Splinter Twin and Birthing Pod were both gone. So, I'm glad to see him fix the format, though. I'm, excited to actually use my damn Mana Trader subscription I've been paying for all these months and not using. Man, I should have a ton of rollover hours. I hung out in Todd's stream. I swear, I read the announcement, because, Parker texted me and was like, man, I picked a bad day to go back to Twitter. And I'm like, yeah, I've been trying to Twitter very sparingly. What I miss. And he's like, B&R announcement. And my first thought was, isn't supposed to be a B&R announcement today? Because we didn't get the announcement of the announcement. Alright, I'm just going to say this. Personally, I would prefer that we go back to the scheduled B&R times. They can always issue an emergency ban if necessary, but generally the thought process has seemed to be, well, let's give it a minute and see how the format reacts to it. See if the format can find a way. You know, there doesn't seem to be, and maybe I'm forgetting, but like even Saheeli Cat, that sat in standard until the next B&R announcement and then wasn't banned, and then a week later they issued the emergency ban, which that in particular I think was shitty. But like, I think it should have just gotten the axe with the scheduled B&R. But yeah, I kind of miss the scheduled B&R announcement days. I think, I mean, it's nice that you give people a week's notice, like, maybe don't buy into the most busted deck in any format right now. And they announce what formats are going to be affected. And if they wanted to do that going forward, like we have the scheduled B&R, and the week before they say, by the way, these formats are being looked at, fine. But yeah, I kind of miss the scheduled announcements. Come on. I'm in no hurry. Alright, I'm in a little bit of a hurry. I have a meeting at 9. But in any case, yeah, I was like, there wasn't supposed to be a B&R today. And he sends me the screenshot. I retweet the article from somebody, and I swear it seemed like 5 minutes later I got the go live notification from Todd. So I want to say it was like by 12:30 that I got the go live notification for Todd Anderson. And usually Todd doesn't go live until closer to 3. Some days, you know, it's between 1 and 2, but more often than not, his go live is right around 3. Because he's over in California, so that's Pacific time. I'm Eastern time zone, so I'm 3 hours ahead of him. So 3 o'clock for me is noon for him, which, you know, that seems about right? I mean, I do miss when he was streaming from the East Coast here, when I still worked in an office, because, yeah, it was nice. I get in at work, and then by, 10, 11, he's live, and, I get to sit and listen to his stream while I'm working and everything. But there are plenty of streamers that I enjoy that are based here in the East Coast to cover those earlier hours when I'm having a day that I'm like, yeah, I just need the noise. Anyway, so yeah, he usually doesn't go live until about 3 p.m. Eastern. So, I mean, he went live like 3 hours early because he got the B&R notification and was just so excited. And it was definitely a little rough, being that it was so early for him, but let's see here, how long does it take to make this round? I think it's like 15 minutes. We should still be good on time. I'm not done rambling yet. And it was just so nice to see him excited about the game again. Because for the past, 3 months, he's been streaming Warzone more often than Magic. And when he does stream Magic, he's... Even when he's not playing Pioneer, he's playing a different format because he's like, fuck Pioneer. I just can't Nope. So we're going to play some Modern. We're going to play some Legacy. You know, he's just not been into it. And I think there are a lot of us that were really excited about the Pioneer format. I know I was really excited about the Pioneer format. I've been playing Standard, or I started playing Organized Play Standard it was right before Innistrad came out. It was like, I think my first F&M was, the current set was the core set between Scars and Innistrad blocks. I remember being like annoyed because I was all excited. I had this Liliana's Caress Painful Quandary deck. It was, I think Painful Quandary was every time an opponent casts a spell, they either pay 5 life or discard a card. And Liliana's Caress was every time they discard a card, they lose 2 life. But I only had like 1 Painful Quandary, so I got the other 3 I needed. And then the deck had a Proliferate sub-theme. So I had the -1/-1 enchantment that when the creature that was enchanted died, its controller got a poison counter. Because all I needed to do was get the 1 poison counter on you, and then I would just proliferate the other 9. Yeah, no, it was a bad deck, but I was pretty impressed with what I came up with there. In my casual play group, it was great. F&M, not so much, but it was fun. Like, all my cards had to be red. Because they're not anything that real Magic players were playing with. And, yeah, I had just gotten the last copies of Painful Quandary I needed. I was like, yeah, I'm so excited. And the guy that I bought them from was like, you know that, like, the bulk of your deck rotates in, like, 2 weeks, right? Damn it. Oh well, for these 2 weeks. So, Pioneer starts a little bit later than that. Where did we go? After Innistrad, we went... Where did we go? Is that when we returned to Ravnica? I think that might have been Return to Ravnica, which is the start of Pioneer. And then we went to Theros, and then Tarkir, I think, if I recall correctly. Don't quote me on it, because y'all know me, I probably don't recall correctly. So Pioneer covers most of the time I've been playing Organized Play, and I did play Standard until... well, pretty much until Modern Humans came out, and I had a real job, and, wow, I had a good job. We were bringing in the most money that we had ever brought in to our collective household, me and husband. And I could afford to burn money on luxury cardboard. And then, yeah, we started running the modern F&Ms alongside Standard, and I kept a Standard deck for a while still because I ran the Standard Showdowns at the shop, but I didn't really care about Standard, so my Standard deck was always kind of shitty, like, you know, Poo Pirates. I called them that because it was a really bad deck. It was poo, but it was pirate themed, so Poo Pirates. Did enjoy Vampires in Standard, though. That was fun. So I kept a kind of slight connection to Standard, And for a while, Sage kept playing Standard. And then we built a second Modern deck. And that was kind of it. We didn't really play Standard much anymore. But that wasn't terribly long before the announcement of Pioneer. And, I mean, I was super stoked about it. Now, granted, the reason I was so excited about this format is it's just not come together. Nobody's building me a goddamn Mana Gorger Hydra deck. And I'm sad. Like, I really wanted to play Hardened Scales again. Hardened Scales was definitely top 3 of my favorite Standard decks. And another one that I really loved was Black-White Warriors, which Frontier, the failed attempt at the Pioneer-esque format, didn't include the original Terrorist block. And I remember being sad about it because, I don't care what Todd Anderson says. I mean, I do, but Athreos, was it God of Passage? The 3-mana Athreos from original Theros is a great fucking card. As far as, well, they never pay to keep things dead, I know. So I just constantly get my stuff back all the time. Now, I played this deck in Standard. I played this deck in Standard with some decent success, as far as LGS events. I love that deck. And my favorite was when I won my quarterfinals match at Game Day. We still got top 8 for that. Because my opponent Cruxifaded me. And I looked at it, at my tracking of the life totals and said, I think you can pay to keep 1 dead. And he was playing the Dimir Ashiok deck and had like 2 of my creatures on his battlefield, and of course Crux hits them all. So I lay out all of my dead permanents that are creatures that I own that are dead, and ask him which ones he'd like to keep dead, and he was like, well, these 2 don't count because they were under my control. And I'm like, oh, you should reread Athros. And he was like, balls. Like, balls indeed, sir. Now, I had a lot of fun with that deck. So, yeah, there was definitely the nostalgia of, oh, I can play these old Standard decks that I love. Not really. Not really. Turns out Mana Gorger Hydra is still not a good card, anything other than its heyday in Standard. Which is a shame. I love that card. Oh my god, I love that card so much. There we go. That's what I should do. I should do green-white enchantments in Pioneer with Mana Gorger Hydra. Once I get the first enchantment on it, Kumatra's Blessing protects it. Right? This is a great idea. No, it's terrible. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. I might still do it, but it's a bad idea. So, yeah, I was, really excited about the Pioneer format, and even though it hasn't really come together that way for me, I mean, there are some Hardened Scales decks running around, and the mixing of Walking Ballista kind of hurts there. But I think you still have other good options. There's still Hangerback Walker, there's still, just these giant-ass creatures. So, board wipes are kind of bad for you, but it's a green-based deck, so you can have Heroic Intervention. Okay, yeah, Heroic Intervention might be a bad card too, I don't know, but look, I'm just spitballing here. But, yeah, these decks never really came together, but, the big red deck was kind of fun. I don't know, I still feel like that deck kind of needed Hazoret, but I can understand the argument that it doesn't clear its hand fast enough. But I think you could engineer a good Hazoret deck that's, kind of mimics Rami Red. the black-white Aura's deck, Darkle Pants. I love that deck. I'm excited to be able to play it again. I think I still have the list in my mana traders. There's the deck I named Rossi Red, because I think the first time I saw it was Ross playing it on stream. And it's using Burning Tree Emissary in the red direction. There's a couple other green, like, because you play, was it Gallia? There's like a Satyr sub-theme, which is adorable. I mean, that deck was fun to play. There were just so many neat things to look at in Pioneer. You know, it was this wide open format, and we had to have emergency bans like every week for, you know, the first couple months that it was a format, because, you know, they went with a very permissive start to that format, where it's like, okay, no fetch lands, because we only have half of them in the format anyway, so let's just have none. And you know what? I'm starting to come around to Ross's opinion that fetch lands were a mistake. So yeah, no fetch lands, but that was the only thing pre-banned in that format. They didn't even pre-ban Saheeli Cat combo. So we're gonna give the format time to figure shit out. And Todd Anderson broke it 2 weeks running. I mean, really, the problem is they went for soft ban first time around, much like the Hogak Bridge from Below ban. So, you know, it was this, you know, big exciting thing, trying to figure out, you know, what the meta of this format is. You know, decks were coming out of left field. It wasn't, you know, like Modern, where, you know, yeah, the wheel ticks, and every once in a while you get this rogue deck that pops up and just knocks skulls around. But for the most part, the Modern meta's relatively predictable, and Pioneer will get there. You know, you're already starting to see certain decks form up that, like, are where people will default to now that the format's been completely shaken. But, you know, it was this new exciting thing for players that haven't been entrenched since 8th edition or prior, you know, or like me, were in for a while, you know, for a few years, and then got out for a few years, and then came back. You know, that spanned my history with especially organized play, because prior to Innistrad, I only did that one event at one time, and it didn't go well, so, you know, other than that, I just played casually. So, you know, it was this super exciting thing, and Inverter just kind of pissed all over it, and was allowed to continue. And maybe that's why they let it go so long, is because the kind of track with Pioneer is that it's been a very permissive format. A very, alright, let's see what you can figure out. I don't know. But I have to get going, because I gotta get inside and get set up for a call here in a few minutes. Again, totally, once the Pioneer Cast episode, you can follow them on Twitter at CastPioneer. They must not have been able to get Pioneer Cast. And see when the episode goes live after Brent works his magic on it. I think it's Brent. I'm like 95% sure it's Brent, not Brett. So if you want to listen to people who actually know what they're talking about discuss these PR updates, I totally recommend. It was a great episode, a lot of great energy. I mean, I generally love Pioneer Cast. It's like the only podcast I still keep up with. Just Ross and Tannen have a lot of great chemistry, and, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing Todd become a regular on that show. You know, I'm a fan of Todd Anderson, and he has also great energy with them. So, yeah, anyway, as always, if you made it this far with me, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully we'll talk again on Thursday.